board. I'm your sergeant at arms today. And I'm so happy that my old Chapel Hill High School classmate in the legendary class of 1966 at Chapel Hill High, the real Chapel Hill High, which is the one down on West Franklin Street that they tore down 2 weeks after we graduated. Bland Simpson is here. This is the third time I've been to Sergeant at Arms when Bland has spoken. So I think Bland thinks I'm the only person who ever does this. I assure you, Bland, I'm not, and there are a lot of other people that are a lot better at this than I am. As I said, Bland and I went to Chapel Hill High together, and I think last time he was here, I went through some of the wonderful people, great people who were in that class. And of course, Bland was one of the stars of that class. All kind of academic awards, and elected all kind of offices, and all that kind of thing. So he was one of the shining stars of the class of 1966. I, on the other hand, was proud to have been elected twice as homeroom secretary, which meant I got to deliver the attendance report to the office each morning. Very important role. And that was about it for me. So you get to see one of the shining stars and one of the ne'er-do-wells in the class of 66. I'm going to call on our president-elect and the man who will be the 56th president of East Chapel Hill Rotary, Mike Clayton, to give our blessing.
Let's give thanks for the meal we are about to eat, for those that made it possible, and for the friends we are about to share with. We are thankful. Amen.
Amen. Okay, do we have any visiting Rotarians here today? No visiting Rotarians. Okay. Does anyone have any guests? President Omar Zinn has a guest.
Yeah, I have my daughter Parker, who's a student at Parsons in New York City.
Is that because you're going to charge the meal to him? That's what I'd do too. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
There are two guests at my table today. One is Alex Nicodem, and the other is Drew Miracle.
I'm happy to have my friend Miles Lackey here, who just moved back to Chapel Hill.
All right. Thank you. You're
Yeah, I've got a guest, Hanji with him. I was a freshman in UBC. That's where he met. He came sight unseen from California to Carolina.
Oh. Wow. Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm a guest to the Emerald. Been here several weeks in a row.
Good. Take it back. Yes, sir. Here.
My friend Josh Kelly joining us. He's been to a few of our little pop-up events and come to check out lunch. So we welcome you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Well, I want to tell you all that this little sergeant at arms routine that I'm about to present changed in the last 24 hours because I had something else planned to talk about. Actually, I had talked about several years ago here before, but the Sergeant at Arms Committee and the censorship group, they thought maybe I better change. I'll tell that story again. So I've had to go to something a little bit different. So if it's not funny, it's not my fault. As many of you know, I had the pleasure of ushering in Carolina basketball at the Smith Center, and I've done that quite a few years. Even ushered at Carmichael Auditorium, which I still call Carmichael Auditorium, although they changed the name to Arena. It will always be Carmichael Auditorium to me. But we've just started the season, and we had the first game a couple of weeks ago, which was one of those dreaded 9 o'clock games on a weeknight. and against UNC Wilmington. And the 9 o'clock games are just, you know, you don't get out till late and all that kind of thing. So when I got there to park, usually if you can park down low in the Ramshead parking deck, getting out is fairly easy. But I got there, I had to go up a few levels, so that I knew that was going to be a problem. And we have a 7 o'clock check-in, and one of the benefits of being an usher is they give you a coupon to get something to eat, which is either Chick-fil-A or pizza, hot dog. Yeah, they got a few items. Chick-fil-A is by far the best choice. Well, the Chick-fil-A was not there in time, so I had to shift over to get a hot dog, which I think was left over from the football game and food was Saturday. And all they had to put on it is ketchup and mustard and a pack of relish. So I ate about 3 bites of that and threw it away. And it was not off to a good start. And I got pretty hungry during the night. And then later, at the end of the game, where I'm located, they asked us to make a little barrier around the TV broadcasters so we don't have any of these idiots jumping around and yelling, "Hey mom," and waving and all that. So we were in position to do that, and they announced that the ACC network was going to do its, not only its post game, they were going to do this other thing they do, which lasts for about an hour after the game. And so I guess they hadn't sold enough of the potato peelers and night vision goggles and those price items they had. If you pay another $19.99, you get a second one for free. So anyway, we had to stay even longer, and I was really hungry by this time. So walking back to the car, I decided it was about 11:45 by then. I decided I'm going to go by the new cookout down here on Elliott Road. They stay open at 4 o'clock in the morning, and get a hamburger and a milkshake. Well, I don't know if you've been to the new cookout at 1 a.m., but it is a happening place, and it's sort of like the old Yogi Berra line, where he said nobody goes there anymore because it's too crowded. Well, it's crowded. I was in line for 45 minutes. So I was so hungry, I ate the hamburger and drank the milkshake on the way home, and I don't live about 10 minutes away. So I threw the wrapper in the trash when I got to my house. And so I went through the line, and it was a warm night, so I had the window down and all that. And I went and got my hamburger and my shake, and I'm driving out. And there's something about the curve down there that I've got to go down there and check it out. Two times I've hit the curve down there, and the car bounces around and all that. Well, there were some more students, and that's all that was down there was students. I mean, it was just packed. And these kids were coming across the sidewalk, and they saw my car jump. So this one guy, smart aleck, he started knocking my car. That kind of ticked me off. So I had my window down, and then as they walked by me, there was a girl in the group, and she looked at me and said, "Oh my God, that's an old man." So that's the way my night ended. And I went on home and ate a hamburger all the way home. President Omar, it's up to you.
Thank you, Bob. I thought I had a fascinating life. It's very interesting when you hear what's going on in other people's lives. We got a packed schedule today, so we're going to try and work our way through. We have an induction, but before that, we have a few announcements. We have Mike Clayton who'd like to make an announcement.
Just want to remind everybody that we've got the football tailgate tomorrow, starting at 2:30. At a spot by the bell tower. We should be real close to the bell tower. We're going to have North Carolina barbecue, fixings, beverages, fun. There's still time to sign up on the sign-up sheet that was emailed out this week. Come on out and have some fun, dress warm, get a little cool.
Thank you, Mike. Ed Loudermill has an announcement.
Yes, we're going to do the bike project again this year on December the 3rd at Christmas House. We'll have the bikes delivered to Christmas House. Thanks to Walter Brown and his man. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt.
We could not do this without you. You don't want Mike making me trying to get
We don't want to watch that.
They were going to have a small amount of bikes, which I'm going to take care of, out to Grove Elementary. I don't know if you have ever met the kids in need, but you want to see some go out to Grove Elementary. And the bikes we're getting were not quite as smooth as it has been in the past. Walmart's having supply problems, and we do the best we can with what we got. And we want to have folks at the December 3rd Christmas House sign up. If our webmaster can put a sign up sheet for folks that come to stay about 30 minutes or an hour, what each property just to be seen, get a Rotary Smith exposure. And we'll put all this in force tonight.
Thank you. And if anyone would like to also make any private donations, it's, we have some funds from our foundation that go to purchasing bikes. If anyone would like to make a private donation, it is tax deductible. You make the donation out of the foundation, it's $140, buys a bike and a helmet. Today, you've noticed we have mixed our tables up a little bit. We kind of set you at a random table so that you can make some new friends and not sit with the same exciting people that you sit with every week. So I hope everyone gets to meet a new friend and meet some of the new Rotarians. Real quick, I'd like for all new Rotarians that are new in the year 2022 to stand up real quick. If you are new to this club in 2022, let's give those people a round of applause. Linda, you and your membership team have done an amazing job recruiting new members, quality people. I do want to keep encouraging people to show up to our fellowship events or volunteer at events. It's a great way to engage and to meet new people. With that, I would like to, is Rob Malin here?
They're here at the kids' table.
Okay. Did you get relegated to the kids' table, Rob?
You said that we're supposed to get around to the table, somebody we've never met before, so I'm going to take it.
Okay. Rob, we would like you to lead the induction, please.
If we're going to keep bringing in new members, we need to get more tables.
Okay, let me write that down.
Okay.
Is Chris Strawn here? Chris, come on up, and your sponsors. Fellow Rotarians, it's a duty of our Rotary Club to add new members from time to time, so that we may not only increase our usefulness and influence as a club, but also to extend the spirit of Rotary throughout our community and indeed our world. Today we welcome to our ranks and admit to membership Chris Strawn. Congratulations, nice to meet you. Now, Chris, Rotary is an international organization of business and professional people with more than 33,000 Rotary clubs in over 200 countries. Chris, I wish to impress upon you that you have been admitted not only to our Rotary Club of East Chapel Hill, but to a worldwide association of over 1.3 million like-minded businesses and professional leaders. With the pin you are about to receive, you are entitled to travel throughout the world and find a Rotary Club within easy distance and be warmly welcomed by fellow Rotarians. And as Cliff Butler knows, a free lunch and even a free bed now. Chris, the honor and privilege of Rotary membership also carries with it duties and obligations. You will be expected to attend our club's meetings regularly, to enthusiastically perform your share of club service with our teacher supply store, youth services, monthly family house dinners, bike night, our dental and service mission, and other causes, including shining Jim Hebner's shoes whenever he asks. But mostly remember that Rotary's motto is service above self. Now, our goal in Rotary is to encourage, foster, first, the development of fellowship as an opportunity for service. Second, high ethical standards in business and professions. Third, dignifying each Rotarian with an opportunity to serve society. And fourth, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world of people united in an ideal of service and fellowship. You know, really, until you get out of the United States into another country and in a Rotary setting there, I don't think you really understand until that happens. Rotary challenges you to live by the Rotary four-way test in all you say or do. Now, in our club, this test occasionally is not implied real diligently, but the test is, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Well done. And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? But mostly will be beneficial to President Omar. That's what we want to know. So do you accept this challenge and commitment?
I do.
Then I please ask all members to rise. Chris, in the name of the Rotary Club of East Chapel Hill, it is now my honor and privilege to formally admit you to membership in our club and to ask your sponsor to affix our emblem to your lapel. Congratulations.
You may now be seated.
Chris, if you'd like to take a minute, and no more than a minute, to introduce yourself to the club.
Hi, I'm Chris Strong. I was born and raised in Raleigh. Lived there until I came to school here at UNC. Moved back to Raleigh, got a second degree at North Carolina State. When I was working my way through school, I was working for IBM. I ended up staying with IBM for 40 years. During that time, I also got a degree from Duke, so I've got a lot of split loyalties and friends with split loyalties, so it's fun come basketball season and football season. Personally, I have been a swimmer all my life. I swim every day now. I've learned to row, so I row out at University Lake, and I bicycle with a bunch of people here Rotary. I'm very much looking forward to this. I'm grateful for the opportunity to join this very exceptional club and learn more about Rotary International.
Thank you, Rob. One brief reminder, we do have the holiday party December 9th. If you haven't signed up one way or the other, if you're coming or not, please respond so we can get our final tally in preparation for food and beverage. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to, who's introducing our speaker, Jim? Yeah, thanks.
So, Bob. So I found out today Mike is with there. One Rotarian in the room is older than I am. And so I was beginning to feel a little bit younger, and then Bland reminded me. Bland said, Bill, you know, Jim, I have known you for 63 years. And it is true, though, that I have known him since he was the nephew of, how many of you remember Ledbetter Pickard? Joe Pictures, Ledbetter Pickard, the stationery store with a whole lot more. And then I said, oh, and Bland, I'm just thinking about all the fun that we had all those years and the things that we wouldn't have, that we've done that I wouldn't ever want to have anybody know about. He says, yeah, Jim. You're old enough to know later, no better, but it's too late to quit. And on that note, Lance Simpson, come on up. Folks, welcome. Lance Simpson.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, folks. It's great to be back with you. And I'm going to honor the great Betty Ray McCain by following her instruction, which she said she got from the Beatitudes. She said her favorite Beatitude was, blessed are the brief, for they shall be invited back again. Jim asked me to speak a little bit about the Red Clay Ramblers and the theatrical events and occasions that we've had through over many decades now. So that's what I'm going to do. Night after night, during a 10-show run in early October 1974, I found myself at Chapel Hill's Ranch House Saloon-style banquet hall, standing with a lighted cigar on the bowing top piece of an upright piano, delivering lines as the late 19th century Missouri Governor Crittenden to packed houses, plotting the demise of the outlaw Jesse James. Though I had been writing songs for nearly a decade and had just recorded an LP for Columbia Records in New York, I quickly came to appreciate that this behavior was way beyond singer-songwriter. I was in the theater now. A gang of unlikely thespians, Jim Wan's, John Foley's, and my Southern States Fidelity Choir, folk and country rock quintet, along with the string band, the Red Clay Ramblers, all under the leadership of Asheville director John Haber and New York choreographer Patricia Birch, who had staged Grease and a Little Mike musical on Broadway and other shows, had put Diamond Studs, the Jesse James as Robin Hood musical that Jim and I had written, on stage. We had the great good fortune to sell out that October run, shortly after which we, the full troupe, boarded the northbound Carolinian train one cold dawn just after Thanksgiving to go give the show a shot at the Big Apple. Our upright piano was a piece of the orchestra, and it was also a bank and a hiding place for the James gang. Guitars and banjos were rifles, a mandolin was a Colt 45 pistol, and the West Side Theater, a late 19th century Lutheran church, was laid out like a saloon, our whole show being subtitled, A Saloon Musical. We were bringing roots music to the New York theater, and we pushed the approach wholeheartedly and whole hog. As a fresh take on musical theater, it worked. Our musical was fully in the hands of musicians, none of which, quite clearly, had been trained in the legit singing or acting styles of the Broadway musical. Clive Barnes, first-string New York Times critic, gave us a rave review when we opened at the Chelsea West Side Theater, mid-January 1975, saying, his opening lines, "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes," and then pegging the true nature of our show. They act horrifically, but they play like angels auditioning for Gabriel. We heard that review just before we went on opening night. And Jim Wan and I looked at each other and said, I think this is going to go well. 20 years later, after a number of other similarly staged shows by our group, in his spring 1995 review of Jim Wan's, Don Dixon's, and my off-Broadway run of King Mackerel and the Blues are running, Clive Barnes, now the lead critic at the New York Post, would credit us with helping create a new musical genre, which he named Musicians Theater, because musicians were all on the covering up the stage. I'm going to give you just a few songs and pieces of songs from the piano here. First checking the equipment. This is the title song of Diamond Studs. Well, we robbed the train and we're going insane for finding all this gold. We're gonna go to the stream and wash ourselves clean and throw off raggedy clothes. Saturday night ain't going far. We found in town, cakewalking from bar to bar. Gonna cakewalk to Kansas City. Have us a time. Cakewalk to Kansas City. That ain't no crime. Dressed to kill, but not to fight. We'll be wearing diamond studs tonight. Oh, diamond studs. Wearing diamond studs tonight. Diamond studs. Wearing diamond studs tonight. Diamond studs tonight. Diamond studs tonight. It was a pretty honky-tonk musical, and Jim and I said, well, we did all right with Bandits, let's go to Pirates. So we went directly to these stories, and we conflated these stories of Blackbeard, Steve Bonnet, Anne Bonny, Mary Reed, Calico Jack Rackham, they did not all sail together, but they did in our musical, because the musical is, you can do virtually anything. So this is, it was set in 1718, and Anne Bonny, in our story, was the daughter of Governor Eden of North Carolina, with whom Blackbeard was doing shady business, and in real history. We made Anne Bonny the governor's daughter. She was sort of fit to be tied. She wanted to get away, see the world. So the pirates come in. She says, "That's where I want to go." And they all sing to her, "Come on down to the sea." And she answers, "I want to go." And she's going to go. It's the third song in the show, so that's where the thing takes off. And I'm singing her part and the rest of the parts too. Such good wine, full-bodied, not too strong, well refined. I've been bottled up so long, I can dance, kick up my heels twice a year. I can walk all the way to the end of the pier. But if it's not too late, I'm gonna make a break. Come on, come on, come on, down to the sea. I wanna go. Come on, come on, come on, down to the sea. I wanna go. Come on, come on, come on, down to the sea. I wanna go. And she goes. Some years later, we did, the Rotary Ramblers did a stage show in New York with Sam Shepard, Live the Mind, at the Promenade 1985-86 season. And he invited us to score his movie Far North, his first feature, and he invited us to be in and score his second feature, Silent Tongue. And we were in the van, Sam and us and a few others. We were going up to lunch, and we were gonna, the afternoon shot was, we were raising these valleys, these great big old kind of canvas posters in the medicine show that was our part in the film. He says, "We need a Holland song. Anybody got a Holland song?" I said, "Yes." Because we had a lot of shanties in Hot Grog, the pirate musical. And I said, "Here's one. When I was a little boy, or so my mama told me, way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, that if I didn't kiss the girls, me lips would grow all moldy. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe." Sam said, "Perfect, that's it, it's in the film." And if you watch Silent Tongue, which is very long, we're the comic relief at the beginning and at the end of the show. You'll see us performing that and hauling up those valleys. Tommy Thompson was one of the founders of the Rotary Ramblers, and I did a musical adaptation of Mark Twain's Life on the Mississippi. And in the book's kind of two parts. The first part, Sam Clemens is learning to be a pilot, and that's what we musicalized. The second part is just a kind of sentimental journey down the river when Sam Clemens is Mark Twain. So this song goes with the scene where young Sam Clemens says, "I want to be a pilot like you, Mr. Bixby." And Captain Horace Bixby says, "Well, okay, listen here. You gotta get this river by heart. Know this river like the back of your hand. You wanna be a pilot, all right, we'll see. I'm setting you straight from the start. You got to get this river by, get this river by, get this river by heart." So there's a kind of Cajun backbeat in it, and that was a whole lot of fun to do. We counted on some of our New York theatrical friends to help us move that show quickly to New York, which didn't happen because they were already involved with Roger Miller and the show that became Big River, which is a great hit. So we were a little behind the starting line on that one, but a lot of fun to write. About the same time, early 1980s, Jim Wan and another batch in New York, all great friends of ours, started putting together a show that became Pump Boys and Dinettes, and it carried the flag of Musicians Theater the farthest to date. And I'm gonna play you one of the songs that Jim and I had written called Catfish that made it into the show, and I'm very glad it did, because the show ran 2 years in New York, and it ran 4.5 years in Chicago, which is a great theater town. And you know the old saying, baby needs new shoes. Well, Pump Boys bought us a lot of new shoes in our household. We wrote the song because there was Jim Heffernan, you probably remember this. Bob Ward, you probably remember it. There was a fish joint down on Rosemary Street, West Rosemary, where the old burger chef had used to be. And there were all these, they sold fish sandwiches and lots of stuff, and they had postcards all over the wall, little index cards. People had written, you know, praise to the establishment, saying, "I love your fish sandwiches," and that kind of thing. But one of them caught our eyes, said, "Please send some catfish down to my baby in Georgia." We said, "This is nice. Can't remember what year, but anyway, we said, what would that even be like?" This was before FedEx and UPS took over the world, so we were just thinking, what would it be like to send some catfish down to Georgia through the U.S. Postal Service? Think about it, as Jerry English used to say. But that didn't stop us from writing a celebratory song about catfish. About halfway through the first act in Pump Boys and Dinettes. Well, it's springtime, Carolina, going fishing on the river. I don't want no brim or crappie. There's only one thing that make me happy. It's catfish on my mind. Catfish, it tastes so fine. I said, catfish all night long. Catfish, what I want now is only one kind of fish I chase. The one with the mustache on his face. I want catfish all night long. Catfish, what I want. Catfish. Catfish, yeah. I said, catfish, that's not a fish. Catfish, so delicious. Catfish, catfish. Unsubtle to a fault, I think. But if anybody ever needs an advertisement for catfish, I mean, I think we got the song. Jack Herrick, who plays the bass, the trumpet, the bouzouki, and about 8 or 10 other instruments in the Ramblers, he and I got lucky enough to write a couple of commemorative musicals for the Cape Fear Regional Theater, which Bo Thorpe, the late Bo Thorpe, invented and ran for 50 years. Great lady of the theater. We wrote one in the late 1980s, commemorating the 200th anniversary of North Carolina joining the federal union. And she asked us to write another one just several years later to commemorate UNC's bicentennial. Great, wonderful projects, both of them. And I want to play you one song from the opening song from Tar Heel Voices, it was called. The song is called New Hope Chapel Hill, because that's where we got the name of our town from. The New Hope Chapel, there's one, it's out now at most of the way to Hillsborough on 86, but it was where the Carolina Inn is now. So it was named New Hope Chapel. The great hill where the university is all over now was called New Hope Chapel Hill. So they went out and picked a spot. Like anywhere else, it is not. Never will be, never will. Out on the oaks and pines, out on the old grapevines, New Hope Chapel on the hill. Don't those pines grow tall? They tower over all. So tell me you know the way. We'll go on back today. I swear it gives me a thrill. the second film that we did with Sam Shepard, Silent Tongue, shot in '92 and released in '94. We were in this medicine show with, we were a band, we were playing an Irish-American band about 1870, and Alan Bates was the leader of the medicine show, kind of a corrupt character. Alan Bates was a very great actor and a great man. Other characters in the medicine show were these two clowns, professional clowns, Bill Irwin of the New York stage, and David Shiner, who had done a lot of work at Cirque du Soleil, and they were sort of darkness and light in their persona. And Shiner had a show booked for the Serious Fun Festival at Lincoln Center in July. This was in April, we were shooting the movie. And he had the good sense to invite, nobody knew his name. He'd done lots of zillion shows, but in New York, he didn't have a name. Bill Irwin was a star in New York, and so somewhere during the run of the shooting of the film, Shiner asked Irwin to join him. And we said, that's great. We knew it would be a success, that Bill would be the draw. And after about a week, we did all these routines with them in the movie, which meant between the setups and all, that's what was happening. About a week went by, and Shiner came to me and said, Bill and I would really like it if the Ramblers joined us, do the kind of stuff that we're doing here in the movie in between shots. And we said, great. So we put the show together. It was supposed to be 2 nights. It was 2 nights at Lincoln Center in July of '92. The producers were calling us. When I walked in the door here, when I got home, Liz McCann was calling to say, I want you to know I'm bidding for the rights for this show, and we think it's a great triangle of the 2 clowns and you guys. And I put the phone down, called Ann up the hall, and said, honey, we're going to Broadway, because there was no doubt in my mind about it. The show was a big hit 3 times on Broadway, and finally I think they gave us a special Tony so we would go away at the end of the '90s. But one of the bits we needed is a silent film routine that Dave Shiner had worked out, where he pulls people up out of the audience, gives one of them a fake gun and all kinds of mayhem ensues, but he said, it's gotta be a rag, we gotta have some kind of rag. Should we go look at Scott Joplin? I said, no, I've got one right here. The cinema rag went right into the show. It was the longest piece because the shenanigans that came from this silent movie routine were wonderful. And we eventually ended up with one of the characters pulled out of the audience. He was a great actor, and he joined us in the show. Kudzu, which I'll sing you the closing song from that show. We built it at Duke and ran it at Reynolds Theater, and then ran it for some months at the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. The setup here, this song is called Home. Kudzu, the boy, has just gotten a job at one of the New York newspapers, and that's his dream. So he's about to leave town, and the whole town, the company, sings him this farewell, essentially saying, wherever you go, you can always come home. One little star shining will light the way to it, no matter how far the road goes. It'll lead you back to us. You'll never be too far from home. And home, shining in the rearview mirror. Do you think it's getting closer? That's just the way that it appears. Home makes no difference where you roam. You'll never be too far from home. And home is a place locked up in every heart. it will always be the same. Though the ones you love are far apart, home is where they will remain. Though you go down every highway, you'll never be a stranger. Your heart will always have a home. Home, we're here no matter where you roam. Never be too far from home. You never be too far. Never be too far. You never be too far from home. Thank you. So we all waved young Kudzu off to New York, and you know, he hadn't been back home yet. Better check in on him. Thanksgiving's coming up. One of the shows that I've performed in the most is called King Mackerel and the Blues Are Running, which kind of was like we crawled through the window of Catfish in the Pump Boys show and came out with this three-character fishing buddy musical, King Mackerel and the Blues Are Running. I'm singing the title song and close with that, and I got just a word after this. I will say we've raised tens and tens of thousands of dollars for various charities and environmental groups with this little show. It's very portable. But the very first fundraising that we did with this show was with this club, with this group. It was in May. It was less than a year after we first staged it, May of 1986, and we put it on stage in this building, down on the ground floor, I believe, and with the East Chapel Hill Rotary Club, and we raised money. I think it was about $7,000 or $8,000 for what was then just an idea, the Ronald McDonald House, and we're very proud of that. That started the capability for that little show to serve as a little engine, but mighty fundraiser. So thank you for getting us going in that direction. Tide rolls in, tide rolls out. The summertime is just about gone. All that's left to think about is the fishing coming on. Who's got the latest information? Coast Guard or charter boat cruise? Could be the kid down at the filling station saying, buddy, have you heard the news? Hey buddy, have you heard the news? King Mackerel and the Blues are running all along the coast. Talk about fishing, you can't give the fish away. Everybody's lucky. October and the moon is coming, but the clouds won't give the ghost. Let the good weather hold one more day. Here in the Outer Banks, winds currently from the northeast 10 to 15 knots. Coast Guard is lifting yesterday's small craft warning. Cape Bitter, Cape Bear. Seas are running 1 to 2 feet above normal though, so stay tuned to the Weather Channel. Ocean temperature off Hatters, Oak Cove, Fort Banks, 68 degrees. Air temperature probably will break a high of 60. But it's a beautiful day all along the Carolina coast, and all reports are the fishing is excellent. King Mackerel and the Blues are running all along the coast. Talk about fishing, you can't give the fish away. Everybody's lucky. October and the moon is coming, but the clouds won't give up the ghost. Let the good weather hold for one more day. Let the good weather hold. Let the good weather hold. Let the good weather hold one more day. Thank you very much for having me back here again. And one more little passage. Essay that I wrote about Musicians Theater a few years ago. You know, Clive Barnes gave us credit for a new genre. We say, ultimately, it scarcely matters whether one calls Musicians Theater a new musical form, a subgenre, or an identifiable hybrid. Certainly, it is an approach to stagecraft that has served a lot of us musicians with Tar Heel roots quite well for over most of 5 decades. Serious Fun was the name of the Lincoln Center Festival that brought the Great Clay Ramblers back to New York in the early 90s, and these 2 words could be both name and theme of what we've all intended to do with Musicians Theater over the years, many years. Whether we were portraying Missouri Bandits, Carolina Pirates, Mississippi Steamboat Folks, Texas Cattlemen, Constitution supporters, gas station wrench spinners, or Southern fishing buddies, we found a great deal of delight in the doing of it. We have certainly tried to capture people's imaginations through American music, both original and traditional, and to do with theater what the late, great Arthur Ashe encouraged in his validation. Spread joy. Thank you.
If you can call on folks for questions now.
Sure, yeah.
Joe, stand with the question.
Glenn, a question, but before I have a question, I have a question for the audience. How many people here were in the Ranch House Saloon when Red Clay Ramblers, stand up, when you heard the actual
Old timers.
We can't tell you how much fun it was to be in that audience the night y'all played the Red Clay Ramblers. So
Thank you very much. Thank you, veterans, for being here and hanging with us.
The question is about Jim Wan. What has happened? Where is he? What?
Jim has a place at Tybee Island and a place in upstate New York. He's currently in Tybee. I think he got there just in time for Hurricane Nicole, which obliged him by going farther to the west. He's working on a show called The Paperboy, which will be given a workshop in New York City in the spring. And I don't know the details of where that's going to be or what the dates are, but I'll know them soon. And we will probably, now that there's some sense of a little distance with the major part of the pandemic, we'll probably go out and do some K-Mackerel shows in the coming year. So that's yes, Cliff.
Cliff, stand up.
You can elucidate on this a little. We've seen everything they've done, but the most entertaining to us and what we talk about, Linda and I talk about a lot, it was like your 20th anniversary. They got everybody who ever played for the Red Clay Ramblers to come back. This is Memorial Hall. They had the Loreleis on the bleachers behind them. And I had goosebumps the entire night. That was what, 20th anniversary?
That was actually the 15th anniversary. The Loreleis are a singing group, female singing group from at UNC.
But I'd like to see y'all do that again.
Well, we were talking about doing an event, something like that, with past and present members up in the spring, up at Airmount in Hillsborough. If you haven't been to Airmount, please go. Just one of the wonderful sites, natural and historic sites in Orange County and in North Carolina. Easy to find, wonderful walk. Yes?
Lane, can you talk a little bit about your musical influences?
Musical influences, well, there are many. I think I used to play my records to death when I was a little child. My mother said, "I'm sorry we ever got you that record player." But I listened to, one of my favorites was Tex Ritter. There's some Tex Ritter stuff. And so I listened to that an awful lot. But I like the rock and roll and all that stuff. And I particularly liked, I loved Robbie Robertson's songwriting and for the band. The which started to come to notice, national notice, after the band toured with Bob Dylan in the mid-60s and thereafter, and they kind of went out on their own. Bob stole the band from Ronnie Hawkins. They were the Hawks, Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks. But I love the writing. I love Dylan's writing, Randy Newman, and I also have come to study a lot of I've been teaching songwriting, lyric writing, and so forth here in Carolina for a while now, and I love the great lyric writers of the 20s and 30s. I love what the Gershwins were, Cole Porter, and all that. I mean, it's all music. I love Rick Ellington.
Tell them where you got your records.
Where did I get my records? I'm glad you brought that up, Jim, because I owe it all to you. My Uncle Joe of the stationery store and Sandy McClamrock, who founded WCHL, were very good friends. And when we first moved here, my Uncle Joe was trying to help figure out what to do with me. It was summertime, and I didn't know anybody and didn't belong to anything. He said, go down to the radio station and hang around. So I went down to the WCHL, and Jim kind of took me in hand and said, okay, look, we only play this kind of easy listening stuff here. So meanwhile, we're getting all these great rock and roll records that we don't use because that's not who we are. And so take your pick. And there were, the record companies would be sending these records. And I just got to sit there and go through hundreds and hundreds of records and say, oh, I like that. This sounds good. The Mummy. Remember that one? Dun, 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 dun. I'm a mummy. So I think that's really good stuff to be influenced by. But this country has produced such great music, and I have been so lucky to fall in with such fine musicians who knew so much of it, a lot more than I, and to get a repertoire from people like the people who originated the Red Clay Ramblers, broadened my experience, and needing to teach a broad range of American music and American musical history through these courses, that opens my eyes some more. So we'll never hear or learn enough songs. Yes, sir.
Before I forget, that little Chapel Hill song is fantastic.
Thank you very much.
What a remarkable career. Can you take us back to the moment, I mean, you're a kid in Chapel Hill, and at some point you were in a car going to New York City because you were gonna be part of this adventure. What was that? That had to be mind blowing, right? I mean, there was no I-40, none of that, right?
Well, it was a two-part start. I've been playing songs and trying to write songs and so forth, and I thought, I just need to go. This is late 1968. I just need to go talk to Bob Dylan about this. And so I hitchhiked up to Woodstock and found my way to, he was staying in Albert Grossman's kind of long log cabin. And I knocked on the door, and he came to the door, and we talked about 40 minutes. And I had been thinking how oppressed I was by how long it was taking to set up a Christmas tree back home. I got disgusted with all the arguments about angels. Should we have an angel? No, we're not this year. And stuff like that. I thought Bob Dylan would never be caught dead in this. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that he was Jewish, but like he'd never be caught dead with a family argument on the Christmas tree. And so I hitchhiked, talked to him, and there were some guys out working on an old Hudson trying to get it started. And they came over, one of them came over and said, this is like right at the end of our Dylan's in my conversation, said, Bob, we about got that Hudson where I think we could crank it, but we need the extension cord we need an extension cord. And Dylan kind of looked off in space and said, gee, Doug, we just used the last extension cord on the kid's Christmas tree. So that's put me back in my place. But after that, I thought, well, now I know Bob Dylan. I'm going to go to Bob Dylan's publishers. They were on East 55th Street, and I took the train up at spring break. I took the train up and just went in there with a guitar and played a bunch of songs, and they said, you got a contract. So that kind of lifted my spirits, and I moved to New York and so on and so forth. But that was what really got me going, was meeting Dylan and then meeting his publishers and joining the whole pursuit. So thank you for asking. Thank you for having me be here.
One more.
Okay.
I got a
correct you on one thing. You said that the first fundraiser you did was for the Rotary Club, but you left out that you did at least 2 other fundraisers for us that we did at Chapel Hill High School. We made a lot more money, and it started us off. We went through a whole string of putting on some fundraisers at the high school.
The one at the high school, yes, I think that was 95 or 96, and that was for the senior center and for to get lights for the intramural and for the sports fields. So, thank you very much. Thank you, Mark, very much.
Real quick, before we're dismissed, one other announcement I want to make, and I would like to present Blaine with a present. So, all of us have, our work, our jobs, and then others of us have our hobbies or our talents. And amongst us is our own lawyer, Rob Malin, who's not just a lawyer, but he's also an actor. And he's going to be performing in A Christmas Story at DPAC. He doesn't have any lines, but he will be performing. So I'm going to be sending out a DAC-DD email to try and get people together. If anyone wants to go out for a meal and then go see the play, that's going to happen between December 14th and December 18th. We're shooting for a Thursday or Friday. So keep that in mind. Second thing is, Blaine, we would like to present you one of our own members, Terrence Brayboy, has a charity called Amina's Gift, which raises money by selling art, African art, and it raises money for children in Africa to provide them with food and education. And this is one of the pieces of artwork that is created, and so we'd like to bestow this upon you and say thank you for coming to speak to us today.
Thank you very much.
Y'all have a good weekend.